is representative of our legal team. We're representing President Trump, and we're representing the Trump campaign. When I finish, Sidney Powell and then Jenna Ellis will follow me, and we will present in brief the evidence that we've collected over the last, I guess it is 2 weeks. Also, Joseph DeGenever, Victoria Tenzing are here with me. There are a lot more lawyers working on this, but we're the senior lawyers, and Boris Epstein. This will be a very, very strong case. And I know you won't accept it because of your hateful biases, but let's see if you can try thinking rationally. What we're telling you is supported by evidence. Republicans shut out in the city of Milwaukee and also in Madison. Republicans almost uniformly shut out from the absentee process, not allowed to inspect, not allowed to look at the ballots.
Ballot counting rooms like this one in Maricopa County have live streams that anyone can watch in real time. Philadelphia, another key region counting votes, has a live stream as well. That's on YouTube on the Philadelphia City Commissioner's official page. You can go and watch this along with everybody else. These rooms have bipartisan designated workers to make sure all votes are properly counted. Really important for people to know that.
You can't say, you're just lying to the American people when you say there's no evidence. Sidney was giving you information that come from affidavits from other people. It kind of begs credulity to say that it all happened in every single state. My goodness, this is how you win cases in a courtroom. There's not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states.
What do they think they can get away with here? Multiple secretaries of state, Republican and Democrat, from red states and blue states, have asked Louis DeJoy to meet with them. NPR was first to report that he is ignoring them, and no such meeting has been scheduled. Them getting rid of the sorting machines at postal facilities, and then the mailboxes from your local street corner. This is something they made no announcement about. They made no public announcement that they were going to do this. We had to have it told to us by postal workers and by people who observed the trucks going around picking up the mailboxes. I guess they thought they wouldn't ever have to answer for this stuff.
Almost exactly the same pattern, which to any experienced investigator, prosecutor, would suggest that there was a plan from a centralized place to execute these various acts of voter fraud, specifically focused on big cities, and specifically focused on, as you would imagine, big cities controlled by Democrats.
Iowa has lost 261 polling sites since 2016. That affects 30% of voters in that state, mostly in urban areas. And in some states, you might have to bypass armed poll observers to cast your ballot.
The important thing here is that pushback works. After a day of all this reporting today on the situation in Montana and the outrage that ensued and the complaints first from the Democratic U.S. Senator there and then thereafter from the Republican Senator, Republican member of Congress, Maritza Giorgio and her colleagues at NBC Montana were first to report that they had confirmed with the Postal Service that, they were backing down. That the Postal Service in Montana would stop what they were doing in Montana. Plans to take away 40 and 50% of the mailboxes in Montana's biggest towns. They would stop that.
What I'm describing to you is a massive fraud.
The state GOP in the process of installing unofficial ballot boxes in at least 3 counties. They're labeled official ballot drop-off box or ballot drop-off box, like the one in this photo posted by a Republican campaign worker, which was later deleted.
We have security concerns about these fake drop boxes.
California's Secretary of State Alex Padilla, a Democrat, says they're not only unauthorized but also illegal.
In California, a criminal investigation is underway after unauthorized ballot boxes began popping up around the state.
The sort of thing Donald Trump's been talking about without any evidence is that Democrats supposedly have been doing this for years. In fact, the reality is there have been less than 1,200 fraudulent ballots in 40 years across all elections. The Republicans who have put out that false charge are actually in danger of carrying out mail fraud, ballot fraud.
We have numerous double voters.
So send it in early and then go and vote.
I would say we're probably going to bring a lawsuit in Arizona. More than probably. I think we are going to bring a lawsuit in Arizona. We're still collecting that evidence.
Just before we got on the air tonight, the Postal Service confirmed it nationally because they were working on doing this nationally. But now with the pushback, they're going to put that on hold. They are going to stop taking the mailboxes away.
And there are other aspects of this fraud that at this point I really can't reveal. This is really enough. It's enough to overturn any election. It's disgraceful what happened. And I'll conclude by asking you to just think about this for a minute. What happened on the morning of November 3rd when they were going to count this new kind of ballot, this mail-in ballot? The contest, from everything I can see, is going to overturn the vote. You should have asked me, and you should be more astounded by the fact that our votes are counted in Germany and in Spain by a company owned by affiliates of Chavez and Maduro. Did you ever believe that was true? Did any of you here believe that that was possible? Of course it's not. Of course it shouldn't be possible. I don't know if we're going to have time to develop all that in time to fill the requirements of all these cases. We have enough evidence without that to overturn this election. We have it from the affidavits of American citizens, but that's a matter of national security that we're talking about now.
Postal Service confirming tonight, quote, "We are not going to be removing any boxes. After the election, we're going to take a look at operations and see what we need and don't need." They were planning on doing this everywhere. And then people got really mad when they noticed them doing it. And they screamed and yelled, and that stopped them.
Very, very serious matter of national security. Please don't make light of it. And don't act like you knew it. Don't act like it isn't a surprise. If that's not a headline tomorrow, then you don't know what a headline is.
This stuff is getting more and more blatant and overt. Hoping for the best doesn't work, right? Shame doesn't work. We've seen the president flat out admit, right, that he's doing this stuff for the reasons we know he's doing it. Hope doesn't work, shame doesn't work. But noise does, it turns out. Not always, but it's sort of the only thing that's working now. Locally focused outrage and complaint and hard questions and we're not going to take it sometimes works.
There isn't a single person in this country that would have believed that we have states that are stupid enough to have our vote sent out of this country. You couldn't possibly believe that the company counting our vote, with control over our vote, is owned by two Venezuelans who were allies of Chavez, are present allies of Maduro, with a company whose chairman is a close associate and business partner of George Soros, the biggest donor to the Democrat Party, the biggest donor to Antifa.
We look at Antifa as more of an ideology or a movement than an organization.
And the biggest donor to Black Lives Matter. My goodness, what do we have to do to get you to give our people the truth?
A majority of the domestic terrorism cases that we've investigated are motivated by some version of what you might call white supremacist violence.
Tonight, the lawsuits brought by President Trump and his campaign after the election. What are judges saying about them? Tonight, from Michigan to Pennsylvania to Nevada, the judges have been clear, and the messages and emails sent out to the president's supporters saying we're closer than ever and it's happening. Where is that money going?
For all the sound and fury on Twitter and TV from President Trump and his allies about election fraud,
then we have proof that I can't disclose yet.
In the courts where evidence gets scrutinized, authenticated, and tested, they're getting hammered. More than 24 cases have been brought and no finding of fraud from any judge, state or federal, Republican or Democratic. Case after case tossed out, and the judges strikingly dismissive of the claims. In Michigan, Republicans claimed they had evidence the count should be stopped. The judge wasn't having it.
I heard somebody else say something. Tell me why that's not hearsay. Come on now.
In Nevada, Republican lawyers claimed their observers weren't close enough. The judge snapped, "At what point does this get ridiculous?" In Pennsylvania, Trump's lawyers claimed their observers were being blocked, then admitted they were in the room. The judge, a Republican appointee, firing back, "I'm sorry, then what's your problem?" Still, the Trump campaign is bombarding supporters, sending hundreds of emails looking for money, claiming progress. This election is far from over. We're gaining momentum. We're closer than ever. It's happening. But a chunk of that money went to retire the president's campaign debt, and now the fine print reads that 60% of each contribution first to Save America. That's Trump's own new political action committee.